Billionaire CEO asked, "Why does your daughter call me mommy?" Single dad's answer left her speechless. "Daddy, when is mommy coming back?" 5-year-old Lily's innocent question echoed through their modest apartment as single father James Morgan struggled to find the words. Little did he know, this heartbreaking moment would lead to an encounter that would change both their lives forever. If you've ever felt the weight of raising a child alone or wondered how fate can turn strangers into family, this story will touch your heart. Like and subscribe to see more life-changing journeys that remind us of the power of unexpected connections. James stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, the dark circles under his eyes telling the story of another sleepless night. At 34, he hadn't imagined life as a single father to a 5-year-old daughter while juggling a job that barely paid the bills. His wife, Caroline, had walked out 3 years ago, claiming motherhood wasn't what she had expected. The divorce papers arrived 6 months later, along with her request to relinquish all parental rights. "Daddy, we're going to be late." Lily called from the living room, her voice pulling him back to reality. "Coming, princess," he replied, forcing a smile as he emerged from the bathroom. Lily stood by the door, her pink backpack nearly as big as she was, her dark curls framing a face that looked so much like her mother's it sometimes hurt to look at her. But her eyes, those were his, curious and determined. "Remember, Ms. Peterson said we can't be late again," Lily reminded him, her small hand reaching for the doorknob. James nodded, grabbing his keys and the lunch he'd prepared at midnight after finishing his shift at the warehouse. His day job as an administrative assistant at Everest Technologies barely covered rent, so he worked nights loading trucks to make ends meet. Sleep had become a luxury he couldn't afford. The drive to Lily's kindergarten was their special time. She chatted about her friends, her teacher, and the class pet, a hamster named Whiskers who apparently had very strong opinions about carrot sticks. James listened, treasuring these moments of normalcy amid their challenging life. "And Emma said her mommy is taking her to Disney World for her birthday," Lily said, her voice dropping slightly. "Daddy, why don't I have a mommy to take me places?" The question pierced James's heart like it did every time she asked. "You have me, Lily Bug. And I promise, someday we'll go to Disney World too." "But when will I get a mommy?" she persisted, her innocent eyes searching his face for answers he didn't have. "Sometimes families look different, sweetheart. Some kids have a mommy and daddy, some have 2 mommies or 2 daddies, and some, like you, have just a daddy who loves them more than anything in the world." Lily seemed to accept this answer, at least for now, but James knew the questions would only get harder as she grew older. After dropping Lily off, James rushed to Everest Technologies, a mid-sized tech company where he'd worked for the past 4 years. The company had been struggling recently, with rumors of layoffs circulating through the office like a virus. As one of the newer administrative staff, James knew his position was vulnerable. "Morning, James," said Mia, his cubicle neighbor and one of the few friends he'd made at work. "Have you heard the news? Alexandra Chen is visiting today." James raised an eyebrow. "The Alexandra Chen? The billionaire CEO of Chen Innovations?" Mia nodded excitedly. "Apparently, there are talks of a merger or acquisition. Everyone's on edge." Alexandra Chen was a legend in the tech world, a self-made billionaire who had built her company from nothing into a global powerhouse in just 10 years. At 36, she was known for her brilliant mind, ruthless business tactics, and intensely private personal life. "Well, it doesn't change anything for me," James said, turning on his computer. "I still have reports to file and coffee to make." The morning passed in a blur of spreadsheets and phone calls. Around noon, the office atmosphere shifted as Alexandra Chen and her entourage arrived for meetings with the executive team. James caught a glimpse of her as she walked past, tall, elegant, with an aura of authority that commanded attention. She didn't look at him, why would she? He was just another face in a sea of employees whose futures she might be deciding. At 2:30 p.m., James's phone rang. It was Lily's school. "Mr. Morgan?" This is Ms. Peterson. I'm afraid Lily has a fever. She needs to be picked up as soon as possible. James's heart sank. He couldn't leave work early again, not with Alexandra Chen in the building and his job potentially on the line. But Lily needed him. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, he promised, already gathering his things. He approached his supervisor's office, knocking tentatively. "Mr. Davis, I'm sorry, but my daughter is sick at school. I need to leave early to pick her up." Mr. Davis frowned, glancing at his watch. "James, this is the third time this month. I understand your situation, but with the company in flux and Ms. Chen here today." "I know, and I'm sorry. I'll make up the hours tonight from home," James promised, desperation creeping into his voice. "Fine," Mr. Davis sighed. "But James, we need to talk about your schedule soon. This isn't sustainable." James nodded, relief and anxiety battling within him as he hurried toward the elevator. As the doors opened, he found himself face to face with Alexandra Chen herself, accompanied by 2 assistants and Everest CEO. "Excuse me," James mumbled, stepping aside to let them pass. To his surprise, Alexandra paused. "You're leaving early?" she asked, her tone neutral but her gaze sharp. James swallowed hard. "My daughter is sick at school. I need to pick her up." Something flickered in Alexandra's eyes, curiosity, perhaps, or surprise. "I see. Family emergency." "Yes, ma'am," James replied, wondering why the billionaire CEO was even acknowledging his existence. She nodded once, then continued her conversation with the CEO as they walked away. James exhaled, not realizing he'd been holding his breath, and rushed to his car. Lily was curled up on a cot in the nurse's office when he arrived, her cheeks flushed with fever. "Daddy," she whimpered, reaching for him as he knelt beside her. "I'm here, Lily Bug," he whispered, gathering her in his arms. "Let's get you home." The next 3 days were a blur of fever, medicine, and sleepless nights. James called in sick to both jobs, knowing he couldn't afford the lost wages but having no choice. By Friday, Lily's fever had broken, but the stack of bills on the kitchen counter had grown more threatening. Monday morning arrived with a sense of dread. James dropped a recovered Lily at school and headed to Everest, preparing himself for whatever consequences awaited. To his shock, instead of a reprimand or worse, he found an email requesting his presence in the executive conference room at 10 a.m. No explanation, just a summons that made his stomach knot with anxiety. At precisely 10 a.m., James knocked on the conference room door, his heart pounding. "Come in," called a voice he didn't recognize. He opened the door to find Alexandra Chen sitting alone at the massive table, reviewing documents on a tablet. She looked up, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Morgan. Please, sit down." James complied, his mind racing through possible scenarios, none of them good. "I've been reviewing the company structure," Alexandra began without preamble, "and your name came up in an interesting context." "My name?" James couldn't imagine why. "Yes. You've been with Everest for 4 years, yet you're still in an entry-level position despite consistently positive performance reviews. You also work a second job at night. And you're raising a child alone." James shifted uncomfortably. "I'm not sure how that's relevant to the company's future, Ms. Chen." A hint of a smile touched her lips. "I'm not here to discuss the merger, Mr. Morgan. I'm here to discuss you." She slid a folder across the table. "I've created a new position at Chen Innovations, Executive Family Liaison. The role would involve coordinating with employees who have family responsibilities, developing policies to support work-life balance, and implementing programs to help parents in the workplace. The salary is triple what you're making now, with flexible hours and comprehensive benefits." James stared at her, certain he'd misheard. I don't understand." "Why me?" Alexandra leaned forward slightly. Because you understand the struggle firsthand. And because I saw something in you that day by the elevator, a father who would put his child before everything, even his own job security. That's the kind of perspective my company needs. James opened the folder with trembling hands, scanning the job description and the salary figure that would change his and Lily's lives completely. This is incredibly generous, Ms. Chen. But may I ask why you're really doing this? Alexandra's composed expression faltered for just a moment. Let's just say I recognize determination when I see it. The job offer is genuine, Mr. Morgan. Take the weekend to think about it. That evening, as James tucked Lily into bed, his mind was still reeling from the unexpected offer. "Daddy, you look happy," Lily observed, her small hand touching his cheek. "I am happy, Lilybug. Something good might be happening for us." "Is it a surprise?" she asked, eyes widening with excitement. "Kind of. I might get a new job that would let me spend more time with you and not have to work at night anymore." Lily's face lit up. "Really? And we could have pancakes for dinner sometimes?" James laughed. "Pancakes for dinner, trips to the park after school, all of it. Is the nice lady giving you the job?" Lily asked innocently. James paused. "What nice lady?" "The one in the picture on your computer. The pretty one you were looking at." James realized Lily must have seen him researching Alexandra Chen online. "Yes, actually." "How did you know she was nice?" Lily shrugged with the simple wisdom of childhood. "She looks nice. Like she could be a mommy." The comment stayed with James long after Lily had fallen asleep. Alexandra Chen was known for many things: business acumen, innovation, philanthropy. But motherly wasn't a description he'd ever heard associated with her. On Monday, James accepted the position at Chen Innovations. Within a month, his life had transformed. The flexible hours meant he could drop Lily off at school and pick her up himself. The salary allowed them to move to a better apartment closer to her school. For the first time in years, James felt like he could breathe. The job itself was challenging but fulfilling. Alexandra had given him significant autonomy to develop programs supporting working parents. They met weekly to discuss his initiatives, and James found himself increasingly impressed by her sharp mind and unexpected compassion for employees' family concerns. What surprised him most was her interest in Lily. She often asked how his daughter was doing, remembered details about her school projects, and once even suggested a book series Lily might enjoy when James mentioned her love of reading. 3 months into his new position, James was working late, finalizing a proposal for an on-site childcare facility. A soft knock on his office door revealed Alexandra, still impeccably dressed despite the late hour. "You're still here," she observed, stepping into his office. "Just finishing up the childcare proposal for tomorrow's meeting," James explained. "I want it to be perfect." Alexandra nodded, then hesitated, something he'd never seen her do before. "I was wondering if you and Lily might join me for dinner this weekend. To celebrate the success of the family support programs you've implemented." The invitation caught James off guard. In all their professional interactions, Alexandra had maintained a friendly but distinct boundary. "That's very kind of you. I'm sure Lily would be thrilled." "Excellent. Saturday at 7? I'll send a car." Before James could protest that they could drive themselves, she was gone, leaving him wondering what had prompted this shift in their relationship. Saturday evening found James and Lily standing outside their apartment building, waiting for Alexandra's car. Lily was wearing her favorite dress, practically bouncing with excitement. "Is Ms. Alexandra's house big, Daddy? Does she have a swimming pool? Does she have a dog?" James laughed. "I don't actually know, Lilybug. This is our first time visiting her home." The car that arrived wasn't the sleek corporate sedan James had expected, but a warm, family-friendly SUV. The driver introduced himself as Miguel, Alexandra's personal driver for over 5 years. Ms. Chen is looking forward to your visit, Miguel said warmly as he helped Lily into her booster seat. She's been preparing all day. The drive took them to an unexpected destination, not the penthouse apartment James had imagined, but a beautiful, modern home on a quiet street with a garden and a swing set visible in the backyard. Alexandra greeted them at the door herself, dressed more casually than James had ever seen her in jeans and a simple blouse. "Welcome," she said, her usual confidence tempered with what almost looked like nervousness. "Please come in." The house was elegant but comfortable, with books lining the walls and art that looked chosen for joy rather than investment value. It felt lived in, personal, nothing like the sterile showcase James had anticipated. "Your home is beautiful," he said, genuinely surprised. "Thank you. I prefer to keep this place private, a sanctuary from the business world." She knelt to Lily's level. "And you must be Lily. Your dad talks about you all the time." Lily, usually shy with strangers, beamed at Alexandra. "He talks about you too. He says you're the smartest person he knows." James felt heat rise to his cheeks as Alexandra glanced up at him with amusement. "Does he now?" Dinner was surprisingly relaxed. Alexandra had prepared a meal herself, nothing fancy, but delicious homemade pasta that Lily devoured enthusiastically. The conversation flowed easily, with Alexandra asking Lily questions about school and listening intently to her answers. After dinner, Alexandra showed Lily the backyard, which featured not only the swing set but a small vegetable garden and a treehouse. "Who plays in the treehouse?" Lily asked innocently as she examined it. A shadow passed over Alexandra's face. "It was built for my niece and nephew when they visit. They live overseas now, so I don't see them as often as I'd like." While Lily played on the swings, James and Alexandra sat on the patio, watching her. "Thank you for this," James said quietly. "It's been a long time since Lily and I had a normal evening with someone else." Alexandra nodded, her eyes still on Lily. "Can I ask you something personal, James?" "Of course." "What happened with Lily's mother?" James took a deep breath. He rarely discussed Caroline, but something about Alexandra's genuine interest made him want to share. "She left when Lily was 2. Said motherhood wasn't what she expected, too constraining, too ordinary. The divorce was quick. She signed away her parental rights and moved to Europe with her new boyfriend. We haven't heard from her since." Alexandra was quiet for a moment. "That must have been incredibly difficult for you both." "It was. Still is, sometimes." Lily's starting to ask more questions about her mother. "I try to be honest without making her feel abandoned." "You're doing an amazing job with her," Alexandra said softly. "She's a remarkable child." "Thank you. But I'm curious, why the interest in us?" "In Lily?" Alexandra turned to face him, her usual composure slipping to reveal something vulnerable. "Because you remind me of my father." The admission seemed to surprise even her. "My mother died when I was 4. My father raised me alone while building his small business. He worked impossible hours, made countless sacrifices, all to give me opportunities. When I saw you that day, rushing to pick up Lily despite the professional risk, it brought back memories." "What happened to your father?" James asked gently. "Heart attack, 8 years ago. Just as Chen Innovations was taking off. He never got to see what his sacrifices built." Her voice held a regret that resonated deeply with James. "I think he saw enough," James said. "He saw you become the kind of person who would notice a struggling single father and change his life for the better." Their eyes met, and for a moment, James glimpsed the woman behind the billionaire CEO, someone who understood loss, sacrifice, and the fierce love of family. The evening ended with promises to do it again soon. As they drove home, Lily was unusually quiet, looking thoughtfully out the window. "Did you have fun, Lilybug?" James asked. She nodded slowly. Daddy, is Ms. Alexandra going to be my friend now? I think she already is, James replied, smiling. Good, Lily said decisively. Because I like her. She listens like you do. Over the next few months, dinners at Alexandra's home became a regular occurrence. Sometimes they cooked together, other times, they ordered pizza and watched movies. Alexandra introduced Lily to gardening, helping her plant sunflowers in a corner.